What if everything you've been taught about healing your inner child is actually making things worse?
Yeah, that's a pretty heavy question right out of the gate.
Right. But welcome to today's deep dive. Because for decades now, modern Western psychology has essentially handed us this very specific blueprint for self-improvement.
hmm
We're basically told to put on a hard hat, grab a heavy shovel, and just start digging up our childhood traumas. We have to do the work, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Find the broken pieces of our past and actively fix everything that feels wrong inside of us. It's treated like this massive excavation project.
It really is.
We approach human consciousness as if it's some complicated mystery, like a puzzle that can only be solved through just relentless, exhausting effort.
And for you, the listener, if you're feeling the weight of that information overload, if you're just incredibly tired of constantly being told to dig up and analyze your past, this deep dive offers a radical alternative.
A completely different paradigm.
Exactly. We are exploring an ancient Taoist paradigm that suggests the hardest work you can possibly do is to stop working entirely. We're looking at a philosophy rooted completely in subtraction rather than addition. Okay, let's unpack this.
To truly grasp how massive this shift is, we first have to, we have to throw out the standard Freudian map of the mind entirely.
Just toss it out the window.
Yeah, basically. Before we even get to the concept of an inner child, we need to understand the Taoist architecture of consciousness. It distinguishes between two primary states of being, and it starts with something called the acquired mind, or Shishen.
Shishin. The word acquired really feels like the heavy lifter in that concept.
Oh, it absolutely is. Shishen is every single thing you pick up after you arrive in this world. It's your logic, your daily judgment.
Like your preference for coffee over tea.
Exactly, yeah. Your emotional reactions, your fears. It even encompasses all those underlying subconscious urges that are so heavily conditioned by your personal memories and, worldly attachments.
What's the ego?
Right. It is the ego-driven you that you identify with every time you look in the mirror.
Okay, so it's essentially the product of all our daily effort and societal conditioning, everything we've built up.
But beneath all of that acquired clutter, Taoism identifies the Yuan Shen, the original spirit.
The original spirit.
Yeah, this is your fundamental nature before birth. It is the purest, absolute quietest layer of consciousness. And it's crucial to understand that this isn't some deeply buried memory from when you were like 3 years old.
Right.
It is the vast background of total silence that exists before a thought even forms.
I love the visual metaphor the sources use to describe this. Think of your original spirit, your Yuan Shen, as a vast, endlessly blue sky.
That's a great image.
And all of those acquired memories, your daily anxieties, your to-do lists, those are simply clouds. They roll in, they might look incredibly dark and threatening for a while, but eventually they just roll across the sky and disappear.
And the sky itself is never actually altered by the clouds.
Exactly. The sky doesn't care about the clouds. Which brings us to how Taoism views the subconscious.
Right, because when your acquired mind, that really busy Shen, finally takes a break, like when you fall asleep, what bubbles up is this chaotic, wandering activity.
The weird stuff.
Yeah, the weird stuff. Taoism refers to this layer as Yin Shen. It's the wild intuition, the bizarre dreams, the unfiltered chaos of the mind when logic just completely goes offline.
And the ancient philosopher Zhuangzi captured this perfectly, right?
He did. He noted that when we sleep, our soul wanders and interacts with the unknown. But the moment we wake up, our body becomes open, rigid, and just busy with the world again.
What's fascinating to me is how differently the East and the West handle that wandering, chaotic subconscious.
Oh, completely differently.
Right, so if Western psychology is like a detective frantically digging through a messy filing cabinet, pulling out old files, and analyzing every single piece of paper to figure out why we are the way we are.
Which is exhausting.
Totally exhausting. Taoism is basically like holding a shaken snow globe and just waiting for the snow to settle.
What's fascinating here is that divergence in action. Western psychology tends to view the subconscious as either a buried treasure chest or a dangerous minefield.
Both of which require a lot of digging.
Exactly. Both require active intervention. You have to do something about it. Taoism views the subconscious as something that simply needs to be clarified through stillness.
Yeah.
You don't analyze the individual snowflakes swirling in the globe.
You don't pick out one snowflake and say, why are you here?
No, you just put the globe down.
Which fundamentally changes how we approach trauma. Because in the West, if we have a traumatized inner child, standard therapy often involves a heavy amount of active intervention.
Like the concept of reparenting.
Right, reparenting.
Yeah.
If your inner voice says, I am unloved and hurt, You are taught to actively combat that by telling yourself, I am loved and I am safe.
And this relies on a Western paradigm of what we could call learning ads daily. Every single day, you are adding a new positive suggestion to fight a negative one.
So your mind is essentially in a continuous battle with itself.
Yes. But Taoism relies on a completely inverted principle from Laozi, which is seeking Tao reduces daily.
Reduces daily. Okay. Imagine your subconscious is a pond, and your traumatic memories or chaotic thoughts are sand and mud mixed into the water.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
In this metaphor, repeating daily affirmations is like pouring expensive perfume into that muddy pond.
I mean, it might smell fantastic for a while.
Sure, yeah. And it might make standing next to the pond much more pleasant. But if you actually scoop up a glass and look at it, you are still drinking muddy water. The core condition of the pond hasn't changed at all.
Taoism's solution is radical in its simplicity here. Stop stirring the water. Stop pouring new things in.
Just leave it alone.
If you allow the water to sit perfectly still, the mud has no choice but to naturally settle to the bottom. The water becomes crystal clear on its own without you having to add any perfume to cover up the mess.
Okay, hold on. Let me push back on this a little bit.
Yeah.
Because if someone is having a severe panic attack or struggling to even get out of bed, actively telling themselves they are safe, using those affirmations, it genuinely helps them function.
Absolutely.
It feels a bit dismissive to say we should just throw all of modern therapy in the trash because it's quote unquote adding perfume.
Oh, that's a vital distinction to make, and it requires nuance. The philosophy isn't suggesting that affirmations are inherently toxic or useless.
Right.
For someone drowning in clinical depression, an affirmation is a necessary life raft. You absolutely need it to survive the immediate storm.
That makes sense.
But the philosophical difference is this. Affirmations help you change the narrative of the dream you are having. Taoism is offering a method to wake up from the dream entirely.
Wow. Changing the script of the movie versus walking out of the theater?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Furthermore, the reparenting model creates a significant problem of duality.
How so?
Think about the mechanics of it. If adult you is visualizing hugging little wounded you have divided your consciousness into two separate entities.
Oh, I see.
There is a subject doing the comforting and an object receiving the comfort. True healing in the Taoist sense requires absolute wholeness.
Because if you've split yourself into two, the hugger and the hugged, who is the third entity observing that comfort take place?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right. If you can watch your adult self comfort your child self, then neither of those avatars is actually the true you.
They are just more clouds in the sky. So, if the ultimate goal isn't to split ourselves in two and mentally hug a wounded 5-year-old version of ourselves, we have to define what the Taoist inner child actually is.
Right. And they call it the pure infant heart, or Qi Zishan. It's referenced directly in the Tao Te Ching. And honestly, this was the biggest paradigm shift for me.
It's a huge shift.
The pure infant heart isn't a wounded memory that needs a bandage. It is an untouched, primordial state of purity. It's the consciousness you possessed before you even knew your own name.
It is essentially the Yuan Shen, the original spirit, existing perfectly uncorrupted by the acquired mind.
And there are 3 key traits that define this state, right?
Yes. Starting with an absolute lack of grudges or internal blockages.
Think about a baby crying. A newborn can cry at the top of its lungs with a level of full-body intensity that would exhaust an adult in 5 minutes.
Oh, easily.
And they can do it all day long, but their voice never goes hoarse. They don't lose their voice because there's no psychological resentment tightening their throat.
There's no ego judging the cry.
Exactly. The energy just flows cleanly and entirely without resistance.
And because that energy flows without the blockage of judgment, it leads directly to the second trait, which is total spontaneity.
Meaning they don't label things yet.
Right. An infant hasn't learned to apply societal labels to the world. If you put a highly venomous snake in front of a baby, it will look at the snake with the exact same awe, wonder, and curiosity as it would a beautiful butterfly.
That sounds dangerous, but I get the point.
It exists purely in the present moment without categorizing experiences as inherently good or bad.
Which naturally bridges into the third trait, this profound mind-body unity. The baby hasn't fractured its identity into, this is my physical body, which I dislike, and this is my spiritual soul, which I need to elevate.
It just exists as one complete, seamless organism.
Here's where it gets really interesting. For you listening, apply this to whatever trauma or heavy mental load you carry.
Yeah, this is the core of it.
The realization here is that your true inner child was never actually hurt. It is fundamentally structurally immune to trauma. It is not the crying child in your memory. It is the profound, unbroken silence that is merely observing the crying child.
You are healing the pure infant heart. You are simply realizing that it was never damaged in the first place.
It's completely whole.
It was just temporarily obscured by the muddy water of your acquired mind.
Okay, understanding this intellectually feels like a massive relief. But I know myself, and I know how easy it is to turn this into another chore on my to-do list.
Oh, the acquired mind loves a to-do list.
Exactly. How do we actually access this untouched state without falling back into the trap of trying too hard?
The practice is rooted in a concept from Zhuangzi called Zuowang, which translates to sitting and forgetting.
Sitting and forgetting.
It is designed to be incredibly simple, taking maybe 3 to 5 minutes, specifically to prevent your acquired mind from turning it into a complex task.
Step 1 completely subverts what we think of as meditation. You don't sit in a rigid lotus position trying to look enlightened.
No, not at all.
You sit lazily. The comparison the sources use is sitting like you are casually waiting for a pot of boiled noodles to cook. Just relaxed, completely unpretentious.
You close your eyes and you initiate what is called the eyes back, ears back approach.
How does that work?
Well, usually our sensory cameras are pointed outward into the world. We're staring at the dark screen of our eyelids, or we're listening to the hum of the refrigerator or a car driving by outside.
Right. Instead of focusing on what you are seeing or hearing, you shift your entire focus to who is doing the seeing and hearing. You turn the camera completely around. You look for the neutral awareness that's just hanging out behind your eyes, acting as the silent witness to your life.
The witness that never judges.
But I have to admit, this is where I struggle. Because if I sit there and a stressful thought pops up, like a deadline I missed, my chest tightens. And if I try to just watch that anxiety, my instinct is immediately going to try and analyze it.
You want to fix it.
I want to fix it. How do you stop the watcher from instantly turning into a fixer?
That is the ultimate challenge of the acquired mind. And this is where the metaphor of the cinema screen becomes your most practical tool.
Okay, the cinema screen.
Imagine you are the literal, physical movie screen in a theater, and a terrifying, chaotic horror film is projecting onto you. There are people screaming, explosions, high drama, everywhere on the screen.
Sounds intense.
But the canvas of the screen itself, it never cries.
Ah.
It never bleeds. It never tries to rewrite the script of the movie. It just impartially holds the image.
And when you actually touch this state of being the screen, when you ask yourself, who is observing this tightness in my chest right now? The feeling that washes over you isn't what we're sold on social media.
No, it's not.
It isn't some overwhelming, ecstatic bliss. It's actually completely plain. It's fundamentally ordinary.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that plainness is the secret to its power. Because the state is so neutral and ordinary, the trauma loses its stage.
It has nothing to perform for.
Exactly. Anxious thoughts survive on the energy of your reaction to them. When there is no one reacting, when the audience has essentially gone home and only the blank screen remains, the trauma is starved of energy.
Wow.
It eventually just fades away on its own.
Look.
You have shifted your identity from the actor suffering in the story to the fundamental space where the story simply occurs.
But being a serene cinema screen is wonderful when you're sitting in a quiet room waiting for noodles to boil. The real test for you, the listener, is maintaining this pure infant heart when real life hits.
Right, the real world.
When you're late for a meeting, your coffee spilled, and you're stuck in gridlock traffic.
There is a famous Taoist saying, "Don't seek Tao in the mountains, seek it in the market."
Seek it in the market. I love that.
If your peace shatters the moment you leave a silent room, it's a fragile, artificial peace. The goal is to bring this into what we can call background mode.
It's like running the Pure Infant Heart as a background app on your phone, while the main app, like driving your car or typing a report, handles the heavy lifting of the physical world.
Exactly.
Let's look at commuting. There's a practice called eagle eyes, pond heart, and we need to be very clear about this. Do not close your eyes while operating a vehicle.
Please keep your eyes open. Your eyes need to be completely locked onto the environment. You are watching the mirrors, tracking the speed of the cars ahead. That is your acquired mind, your Shishen, doing exactly what it evolved to do.
Keeping you physically safe.
Keeping you alive.
But while your eyes and hands are doing that intense work, you let your inner awareness drop down from your racing head, down into the natural rhythm of the breathing in your stomach.
You aren't forcing the breath to be slow.
Right, you're just noticing it expanding and contracting.
Let's ground this in reality.
Yeah,
Imagine a motorcycle recklessly cuts you off on the highway. Your body's going to react instantly. Your foot slams the brake, your hands jerk the steering wheel.
total adrenaline spike.
This is an excellent example of Wu Wei, often translated as effortless action. It doesn't mean doing nothing. It means your body's natural, intuitive intelligence steps in to save your life without your ego needing to forcefully narrate or plan the action.
But here's the magic of the pond heart. Because your awareness remained anchored in your stomach, in that silent watcher, you don't spend the next 20 miles gripping the steering wheel, replaying the near miss, and yelling at the windshield.
You don't hold on to it.
The physical event happens, the body reacts perfectly, and the silent observer holds zero grudge afterward. The muddy water was disturbed for a second, and then it instantly settles.
The trauma of the near miss doesn't stick to you because there is no sticky ego there to grab onto it. It just washes over you. Now, consider how this applies to a modern desk job.
Okay, there is a variation for this called moving fingers, empty chest. Say you're sitting at your laptop typing out an email, and a message pops up from your boss that is incredibly passive-aggressive.
The worst.
Instantly, your chest gets hot, the anxiety spikes. The Taoist approach isn't to slam your laptop shut, run to a quiet room, and try to actively meditate the stress away.
No, you keep typing, you keep doing the work.
Yeah.
But you shift just 5% of your attention away from the glowing screen and down to the physical sensation of the soles of your feet resting on the floor.
Just 5%.
And as your fingers hit the keys, you ask that same internal question. Who is typing right now? Who is experiencing this hot feeling in the chest?
You let your acquired mind construct the sentences for the email, but your inner awareness steps back into the role of the silent security guard.
I like that.
The anxiety from the boss's email becomes like an awkward, rowdy guest in a lobby who suddenly realizes they're being watched by a very quiet, unblinking security guard.
They feel a bit awkward.
Yeah, the guard doesn't yell at them, doesn't wrestle them out the door, just stares. Eventually, the anxiety feels uncomfortable without any dramatic reaction to feed on, and it just leaves the building on its own.
It is a brilliantly subtle way to process the micro-traumas of daily, modern life without having to interrupt your life to do so. The stress simply finds no foothold in the mind.
So, what does this all mean? For you listening right now, it means that true, durable peace isn't found by escaping your chaotic schedule.
You don't need to book an expensive silent retreat in the mountains to heal your mind.
Exactly. You can literally drop the mental weight of a nasty email or a traffic jam in real time just by anchoring to that silent watcher.
It is the profound art of finding stillness within motion.
Let's quickly recap this journey we've taken today. We started by looking at the standard Western model, the exhausting process of digging through the messy filing cabinet of our subconscious, dividing ourselves in two, and actively adding affirmations to try and heal a wounded inner child.
And we transitioned into the Taoist art of subtraction. We recognize that the subconscious is just a muddy pond. If you stop desperately stirring the water, if you stop pouring new things into it, clarity is its natural, inevitable state.
We've learned that you don't need to wrap your trauma in a mental hug because your true core, the pure infant heart, is completely untouchable.
It was never broken.
By utilizing simple, ordinary practices like sitting and forgetting or dropping into background mode during a stressful workday, you are no longer fighting your thoughts.
You're simply identifying as the blank cinema screen, rather than the horror movie projecting onto it.
It's an actionable, liberating paradigm shift that actually respects your energy.
This raises an important question.
If your trauma, your anxieties, and even your daily personality are just a movie, and your pure, original consciousness is the cinema screen, what happens to your sense of identity when the projector is finally turned off? Who are you really when there's absolutely no story left to play?